Hey there, just thought I'd stop by and review another visual novel that I just got done playing, because hey, why the hell not? This one is Otoboku wa Kuishiteru. Wait, I don't know if that's the right name, but whatever. It's commonly shortened to Otoboku because, as you could tell, the initial title is kind of a mouthful, and it translates to The Maidens Are Falling for Me. So, if you can't tell already, it's obviously a harem visual novel. So, why would I play this over watching a harem anime or reading a harem manga or something like that? Well, I don't usually watch harem anime, and I don't really read harem manga because in both of those, I always feel like the other girls never are given much of a chance, and they're always bound to lose to the side characters. Not that it always happens, but they usually never feel like they even have a chance in the first place, and I always feel just bad for them that they're even attempting to romance the main character when they have no real chance. While in visual novels, you can actually pick the girl you like the most as the reader, and yeah, that actual illusion of choice makes, well, it's not even an illusion, it's actual choice, actually makes it a lot more endearing for me. Now, of course, as you can expect, this is a feel-good game, and it doesn't always reflect reality. This probably would never happen. I'm not saying it's impossible because, lots of weird things can happen in the world, just highly unlikely. But yeah, it's mainly a feel-good game. It doesn't have that much heavy drama in it. I guess you could say it's kind of like Ranma 1/2, Tenchi, I guess the new one would be that Hentai OG or Hentai Prince anime. I don't read a lot of these, so I'm just trying to throw out things that you might know. I guess a thing that everyone would know, it's kind of like if Clannad only had the slice of life comedy elements and only had very mild drama compared to the heavy drama it actually has. I guess that would be a good comparison of what you're gonna get out of this game. So only play it if you like feel-good kind of things. You don't, this doesn't really have much of a plot or anything like that. So, and it doesn't try to follow reality or logic. So it's one of those visual novels, you just turn your brain off, and hopefully, you get some entertainment out of it. Now on to the actual story of the visual novel itself, or what little story it has. You play as Miyanakoji Mizuho, a very effeminate, girly man with a girl's voice, as you can imagine. This is one of the few games where the actual protagonist has a voice, probably to make the players feel insecure about their sexuality. Unfortunately for me, he didn't do that to me. Wait, should that be fortunate or unfortunate? I don't know, but whatever. And basically, he has to attend an all-girls school, or no consequences at all, but he just has to attend it because it's his grandfather's dying will, because he wants him to attend the school that his mother went to, and that he founded, or it was either him or his predecessors. It's not really that important. It's mainly an excuse for a guy to get into an all-girls school and deal with being with a bunch of women. It's an ideal situation for a guy, I guess you could say. Unless you're, homosexual, in which I guess you would just be, about it. Now, upon arriving at this school that he agrees to go to because the main character is such a pushover, he learns that this school has a special system to it. Well, it's not that much of a system, it's just they elect a certain candidate to be the elder of the school. And basically all that means is being the woman that everyone else in the school looks up to, being kind of the ideal, the Supergirl of the school. And of course, who's gonna be the candidate but the main character, who's actually a dude? And I guess that's kind of his strong point, is he's a dude, but he's actually the perfect woman, believe it or not. And That's where a lot of the comedy in the game comes from. And of course, he gets elected, and his life kind of starts from there. This happens very early on, of course. It's not really the ongoing plot of the story. Now, being the perfect girl also comes with, you know, since everyone idolizes him, almost everyone that you interact with on a frequent basis falls in love with you near instantly. Yeah, like I said, it's a harem game, it's a feel-good game, so, you know, just take it as it is, turn your brain off, don't worry about it. But yeah, it's kind of funny because they all fall, even though he's a woman, they're women, and I guess that means they're just all bisexual because they still go out with him when he's a man, and when they figure out he's a man. Some of them already know he's a man, though. And honestly, there's not a lot to say beyond that. It's basically a slice of life comedy from then on. You know, it's funny because the title has the maidens are falling for me in the title, which is accurate, but you would have thought that there would have been more focus on romance in this game, but there's actually not that much focus on romance. It's really most on slice of life events and the daily lives that they live. It's a fairly episodic story. You know, you complete one chapter and it actually has a preview for the next chapter, which I don't understand what the purpose of that is, because, you know, in an anime or a manga, yeah, a preview is nice because you gotta wait weekly, but in a visual novel, you can just read the next chapter right away. So I guess it's to get the reader interested in the next chapter, but I just don't find it necessary. And this is, of course, very rarely used in visual novels, at least the ones I've played. So I don't. So yeah, not a heavy focus on romance. The girls' routes themselves are kind of short, actually. So, you know, and there's not even that much focus on romance even in their own routes. It's actually more focus on the drama than the actual romantic aspect, which, to me was a little disappointing, but, you know, I could live with it. It's just a feel-good game, so whatever, as long as it did make me smile, it did make me laugh at times, so I think it accomplished its goal just fine, even if it's, you know, nothing really that special, but I wasn't trying to be. Sound-wise, the game is actually kinda nice for a visual novel. Of course, there's some repetitive tracks because they play all the time and you've gotta listen to them through a 20-hour visual novel, but there's some that I never got tired of, which is rare for me because, you know, I usually get really bored of visual novel music, and sometimes I have to put something else on just to give me something else to listen to. But here there's some, even though there's no real big emotional tracks because it's not that heavy in drama, and a lot of visual novels, their best tracks are their emotional tracks, actually. But this one doesn't actually have it actually has these rather subtle piano pieces, which are very nice, actually, and I never got tired of listening to them. So overall, I think musically they did a good job. Voice acting wise, as you can expect, the majority of the voice actresses, there's not many voice actors in this game, there's a lot of voice actresses, but the majority of them did just fine. If there was one weak link, I would say it's the main character. Mizuho, I don't know. For me, as a character, he didn't make that much of an impression on me. Yeah, he had his funny comedy moments, but I just didn't find him as interesting as the other characters, and I don't feel like he developed that much. And even though I'm not saying he's a bad character, I'm not saying he's flawless or anything like that. He's got his negative traits, he's got his positive traits, and he's still got the irony that he's the perfect woman despite being a man. But I don't know, I feel like the writers, because it's a feel-good game, I almost felt like the writers played it too safe with him. So he didn't really have any impact to me, and I felt like if they just allowed him to maybe suffer a little more drama that the girls suffered, you know, as little as it was, then I think he would have made a little more impact on me. But he just always comes out, I mean, all the characters kind of emphasize it. They're always like, oh, you're so wonderful, you're so amazing, you know, and it's just, he didn't really grab me. And part of the other problem was the voice actress she's trying to put on this ambiguous boy voice, basically. And yes, he does sound a little different. He talks in a little different way than all the other girls, and you can notice it if you understand Japanese, that is. But, and she also tries to give them, you know, the ambiguous vocal texture. And to me, this makes him not only sound kind of funny at times, but I also think the actress herself really was holding back too much in a lot of scenes. Some scenes she's just fine, but I felt like emotionally her lines came out a little flat. Somewhat with Kana as well, but I felt like Kana, that's just kind of inherent in her character, so I didn't mind it there. But with Mizuho, I just felt like, she really felt like, I don't know, like she wasn't putting her heart into it at times. And maybe it's because of the awkward voice that she had to give Mizuho, that, you know, made it a little uncomfortable to act comfortably with that, and I can imagine that being the case. So, overall, I felt like, you know, sound-wise, it's good, but, you know, Mizuho, voice actress, didn't really make an impression on me, and I felt like she kind of took away from his character at times, so it might have been actually better for him to be a silent protagonist than to have a voice. I don't know if that would have made a difference for me, but oh well, I guess it's nice for a main character to have a voice in a visual novel every so often. Now, onto the character routes themselves. Very slight spoilers. It's kind of hard to spoil this game because it's not that plot-based. I mean, the majority of the game is just comedy, slice of life, you know, it's just events, whatever, you know. The actual character routes themselves, the main problem with them is they're kind of short, but I'll go over them anyway. The main problem, though, is that the routes cross up too much. There's too many reoccurring events that you've already seen, and yeah, that's the main problem with them, is the routes cross, like Maria and Yukari's route, for example, they have a lot of the same events in them, and Takako and Kana is the same way, and Ichiko doesn't even count. Okay, just for a forewarning, Ichiko is basically, if you pick her out, basically all you're getting is additional sex scenes. She's pointless, okay? Unless you really like seeing sex scenes with Ichiko, just skip her out. There's no point in playing it. It's not a route, it's just an ending with Ichiko. But anyway, I will, other than the routes crossing up and the routes being kind of on the short side, I will go over what I felt was strong or weak about them. And I'll go from what I thought was worst to what I thought was best. And obviously, this is just my personal opinion. This is a character game. So based on who you like the most is probably going to be who your favorite routes are. It's not going to be based on the plot of the actual route. It's going to be based on how much you actually like the character, I think. But I'll go over it anyway. The worst route, I think, is Kana's. And the main reason for Kana's route being the worst, it's not because she's a bad character. She actually, like all the characters, they have more to them than meets the eye, and they have their little troubles that make them a little more interesting and flesh out the character a little more. It's just that, once again, I feel like the writers played it too safe with her. Like, there's not that much drama going on in her route, and anytime there is drama, it just gets resolved so easily and so painlessly, yeah, that's a word. It's just didn't really do anything. It's a little too feel-goody because Kana's just all over the Mizuho. She loves her to death. So, loves him to death. Like, yeah, I get confused sometimes too. But, yeah, she just didn't do anything for me. She not a bad character, but I feel like they just played it too safe and didn't have any real impact. The main drama in her route was that Mizuho was lying to her about being a man when she was actually a woman and doing sexual things to her when, you know, she never showed her body to her, showed his body to her, so you're gonna get confused all the time. But even when she found out, it was not a big deal at all, and so it's basically a feel-good route. Not a lot of drama, not a lot of things interesting happening in it, but if you like Kana, you'll like the route, probably. The second worst, though, worst harsh word, I enjoyed it still, was Takako. Now, Takako is the tsundere of the game, the kind of princessy kind of character. The problem with her route is the same as Kana's, is that she basically becomes head over heels for Mizuho a little too easily and forgives that he's a man a little too easily, so that no interesting drama really happens, though thankfully she does have that little family ordeal thing, but it's kind of glossed over too easily even then. So, and the part where she got jealous of Mizuho being with other women was okay too, but they, once again, played it too safe and didn't really go anywhere with it. And yeah, the main problem with a lot of these routes is they just play it too safe, so it's hard to get that entertained from them. But overall, her character was still enjoyable and cute and all that stuff, and she got decent development. I mean, she's the tsundere, she's going to get development. That's how their characters are written, you know? If there's one character that's gonna get development, hopefully it's the tsundere, you know, because, you know, they're written to get development. Third is Maria. Now, initially, upon playing the game, I thought I wasn't even gonna play Maria's route. I thought I wasn't even gonna like her. But as the game went on, she showed that she had a lot more to her than meets the eye, like all the characters do. And she's a little more, she's just more complex than what initially appeared on the surface. And the thing I liked about her route is that she didn't actually need Mizuho to solve her problem. She needed to stop, think to herself, and the romance she had with Mizuho was kind of just a thing to help encourage her instead of being a real drama-related thing. So I actually kind of liked how this route went. I don't really have much complaints about it. I thought the relationship between Mizuho and Maria was one of the most natural in the game, obviously, because they've been best friends, so that's gonna be a little more natural. And yeah, overall I thought her character was fairly well done. It's nothing special, but, you know, I can't complain about it, really. Yeah, it actually kind of surprised me that, you know, that I even liked her route as much as I did. So I thought they did a pretty good job with that. Second is Yukari. Now, the reason I like Yukari is because I feel like she's the most believable of all the girls. You see, all the girls have these little special traits about them, or in Mizuho's case, the guy has this, you know, Mizuho is this wonderful woman, even though he's a guy. Shion is this confident woman with grace. Maria is this really self-confident girl that is very independent. Takako is kind of this princess girl, and Kana's this wonderful little sister character. Well, Yukari is just kind of a normal girl, you know? There's nothing particularly special about her, which I guess you could say wouldn't make her stand out at all, but I kind of like that, you know, you got to see her thoughts, you got to see how she acted towards things, and when drama actually happened in her route, it actually was kind of meaningful and interesting at times. You know, when she found out that Mizuho was a guy, she felt betrayed, and she acted upon that betrayal, you know? And this might make her seem unlikable to a lot of people who read this game, I'm sure, because she's not necessarily ideal, but I felt like I could connect with her the most because, you know, I actually felt like, even though, you know, it's a little unrealistic of a game, still, I felt like, you know, that if there was one girl I could connect with, it'd be Yukari. I felt like she thought like a normal girl would, felt like a normal girl would, and developed appropriately based upon that. And the drama never goes too far, so it's not annoying drama. It's just kind of, you know, kind of just how the events played out, you know, and I think it would be inappropriate if she didn't kind of feel a little betrayed by being lied to. So, you know, overall, I like this route decently well, and there's not much else to say about it other than it's pretty decent, you know? Now, the final route that I like the most is Shion, and I guarantee you most people who play this game will also like Shion the most. She just has the most likable personality, she's kind of quirky at the same time, and she's got the best voice actors too, in my opinion, so, and she's, well, she's gorgeous, so that kind of helps too. And the other thing that kind of helps is during her sex scene, she's incredibly moe. hey, I did expect that. I didn't really feel much moeiness from the other sex scenes. Some of them I just felt were kind of inappropriate too. Well, hers were, oh my god, they were, ugh. I did not expect that, game. Good job, you fooled me. Though, if you don't like sex scenes, you can always just hold the control button and skip right through all of them. So even if you don't like games with sex scenes, they are very easily skippable. So you don't have to watch or read them if you don't want to. And I felt like her route had, even though it probably had the most unrealistic story, believe it or not, but I felt like it had these nice, heartwarming moments, and her relationship with Mizuho was pretty dang cute, but I guess it's mainly because I liked her the most. I don't know if I can actually defend it as actually being the best route, but it's the one I like the most. I liked her character the most, so, she kind of won by default for me. So, I don't know. Once again, this is a feel-good game. I know I've repeated it over and over again, but that's just kind of the nature of this game. It's not really here to make you depressed or sad. It's mainly there to put a happy smile on your face, or just to give you a lot of positive thoughts, because too much negative thoughts will stress you out. So reading or playing something like this every so often probably isn't a bad thing. Now, this game can be kind of boring, and when the routes cross up too much, yeah, that makes it kind of tedious at times. Do I recommend it? Well, the thing is, I can't really think of many visual novels that got translated into English that are actually like this, where they, even if they have feel-good elements like Clanad, they'll have too much drama later on, which makes them incredibly depressing. So I can't really compare this to other visual novels. There's plenty of these that are out in Japan, but I can't really think on the top of my head, what would equivalent this to in English. Katawa shoujo is even maybe a little too dramatic at times, but I guess that would be the closest thing. Anyway, it's nothing that deep or special, but if you enjoy that harem anime or manga and you can tolerate visual novels, then hey, give it a shot. Nothing special, but nothing that bad either. Don't got really that many complaints about it, quite honestly. It bored me at times, but whatever, that's the nature of pretty much every visual novel I've played. Anyway, thanks for listening, see you next time.